Hello, and welcome to this video where I describe all of the mistakes I made in all of the videos I made this year. At least all the mistakes that I could find. I also just wanted to mention before I start that a lot of the videos that I do are what I call weird news reports, where I report on a whole bunch of series of weird news articles. So the title of the video is not always related to the mistake I'm talking about. But you'll know when they pop up because there are always parentheses in the titles that are "and more weird news." So there you go. In Plantain Review with Mom, we pronounce plantain incorrectly.
Plantain. Plantain cam.
We're still doing that.
Cam.
We're still doing that.
Yes.
Okay.
It's pronounced plantain, not plantain. In addition, I describe plantains as belonging to the AAB group. Bananas and plantains are derived from the Musa acuminata and Musa balbisiana species, right? All bananas and plantains are crossbreeds between those two species. And I describe plantains as belonging to the AAB group, which means that it has two sets of chromosomes from Musa acuminata and one from Musa balbisiana. And this is true for true plantains, which are the species that is botanically considered plantains. But there are other species which are colloquially, I can't say that word, that are referred to as plantains informally because they're cooking bananas, right? As opposed to dessert bananas. They need to be cooked before eaten. So bananas that need to be cooked before being eaten are referred to as plantains in the common usage. So there are species that do not belong to the AAB group that are sometimes referred to as plantains. In the video, a deep dive into haiku, and maybe I was wrong about haiku. Well, the first video, a deep dive into haiku, I discussed how I thought that a haiku doesn't necessarily need to have the 3 lines with the 5 syllables in the first line and then 7 syllables and then 5 in the last. As long as it has the traditional haiku elements, like it's about nature, it's an observation, it has 2 parts that compare and contrast each other, it has vibrant imagery, etc. So I provided a definition that maybe either a haiku could have the 3 lines with the 5-7-5 pattern, or if it doesn't have the 3 lines with the 5-7-5 syllables, I could still consider it a haiku if it has, the traditional haiku elements. So I discussed how it has to be one of those 2 things for me to consider it a haiku. The problem is that is the haiku blub 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 goo goo ga ga goo goo ga wub 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 a haiku? I actually don't think so. But according to my definition I gave in Maybe I Was Wrong About Haiku, that would be a haiku. So I think that maybe there has to be a little bit more. Like now reflecting back on it, I think I was actually wrong. In my video, Maybe I Was Wrong About Haiku. I think that in addition to the 3 lines with the 5-7-5 syllable pattern, I think there has to be a little bit more. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Maybe it just has to make sense. In Is ChatGPT Liberal? A Political Bias Test, I asked, how could you think ChatGPT was biased after the epic sonnet that I made ChatGPT write about Trump? The problem is that the sonnet that ChatGPT provided did have some criticisms of Trump. For example, it includes the words, "and left a nation more divided than unified," talking about Trump. In temporarily losing your eyesight, gray out, black out, and red out, John Snap, the person who survived the most Gs willingly, actually survived 46.2 Gs, not 25 Gs, although I did correct this on screen. Also, a 150-pound pilot experiencing 9 G-forces would not be 1,350 pounds. They would just feel like they're 1,350 pounds. Their apparent weight would be 1,350 pounds, but their actual weight would actually remain unchanged because the force of gravity has not changed, I think. In the video, Galileo's thought experiment, how to prove the theory of gravity in your head. The concept I'm referring to is not the theory of gravity. In the video, I talk about how to prove the idea that all things fall at a constant rate, regardless of mass. And it's not called the theory of gravity, which is what I titled the video as. Maybe the law of falling bodies would be a better term to describe what I'm trying to say in the video. Although I had for some reason I had trouble finding what it was actually called online. The law of falling bodies. I feel like that's close enough. In the video, did JFK really call himself a jelly donut? Not all people that crossed the Berlin Wall were from the east attempting to flee to the west. Thousands of people a year migrated from the west to East Germany. And this was for a variety of reasons. They could be trying to escape criminal charges. It could be for political reasons. It could be for personal problems. Maybe they were having marital problems or were estranged from their families. Maybe they were homesick. Maybe they had previously been from the east and migrated to the west, but now they were homesick. These are all reasons why people crossed the west to the east in Germany. Also in the video, I said that 3.5 million people escaped to West Germany from East Germany before the construction of the Berlin Wall. And I said that after the construction of the wall, only 5,000 people crossed the Berlin Wall between 1961 and 1989. This is a little bit inaccurate because the 3.5 million people number that I described all people who had migrated from East to West Germany, including people that did not travel through Berlin. So comparing the 3.5 million people to the 5,000 people that had crossed the Berlin Wall after it was constructed was a little bit inaccurate. It's a little bit of a weird comparison. After the construction of the Berlin Wall, 40,000 people crossed the border illegally, either in Berlin or the other border between East and West Germany. So that might have been a more accurate comparison. It might have been more accurate to say 40,000 when comparing it to the 3.5 million people number from the video. Also, many immigrants from East to West Germany actually crossed the border legally by being granted official permits. Crossing the border illegally made up less than 1% of border crossings in the 1980s. So actually, the 40,000 number I just said actually describes only illegal border crossings. If you want to describe all people migrating from East to West Germany, the number would actually be hundreds of thousands. Also, in the video, I mispronounced the German word arzt. It's confusing because for a male doctor in German, you would say arzt, but for a female doctor, you would say Ärztin. So I said Arzt in the video. I guess I combined the two somehow. I don't know. In the video, massive 5,000-mile-long blob of seaweed threatens Florida, plus more weird news. I may have understated the confidence that scientists have that climate change is contributing to the sargassum problem. So the sargassum being the massive blob of seaweed that exists in the Atlantic Ocean that was threatening to wash up on the shore of Florida last summer and released toxic gases as it decayed. This is a quote from The Hill. Scientists have found that climate change is causing ocean temperatures to rise, creating a more ideal environment for the algae to thrive. And in NBC News, it mentions how climate change can, quote, increase flooding and runoff into major waterways. Runoff, like agricultural runoff, being like fertilizer and things that get into the ocean and promote algae growth. So it does seem like from at least a few sources that scientists are actually fairly confident that climate change was contributing to the sargassum problem back when it was a problem. I mean, now the sargassum blob has shrunk. I don't know why. I couldn't find out why. I have no idea. This is a bonus fact that I should have mentioned in the video. Sargassum actually has a high presence of Vibrio, a flesh-eating bacteria. That straight up sucks. Also in the video, when I'm talking about the giant shapeless penis plant, don't ask. I say Guinness when I mean genus. In the video, California to ban Skittles and other weird news, I say that potassium bromate can probably cause cancer. Probably the more accurate way to phrase it would be that it's a possible human carcinogen, which is the classification given by the IARC. The man who had drunken several liters of pop every day which contained bromated vegetable oil, did not have to go to the hospital because of a condition called bromate buildup. The condition that he had was called bromism. So Skittles was not actually sued over its use of titanium dioxide in 2016. It was sued in 2022, which I corrected in the video with text, to be fair. In AI chatbot convinces man to sacrifice himself to save the planet, plus more weird news. So the Kabul airlift in 2021 did not just contain vulnerable Afghans, but also included the evacuation of US citizens, which I did not include in the video. So in the video, I also talk about how a prank YouTuber was harassing some guy in a mall, and this was like a prank. And the prankee got so upset that he took out a gun and shot the pranker. It may have been incorrect to describe it this way because a criminal trial had found the prankee not guilty of aggravated malicious wounding. So it might, my impression is that being not guilty after shooting someone is that you actually think that your life is in danger. So it might have not been correct to say that he was just annoyed and that's the reason why he shot the pranker. He may have actually thought that that he was in danger. Also, the Guinness World Record for the largest Afro was 5.41 feet in diameter, not height. But in my defense, that was right after the police had barged into the room that I was in and almost arrested me, probably. Oh. Am I not supposed to be?
No, you're allowed to be in here. I'm just curious as to what you're doing.
Oh, I do a thing where I do like a news.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for like a YouTube channel.
Okay. Have fun. I was just really curious.
Oh, okay.
Well, sorry about you, brother.
And it wasn't just the police. It was the Minneapolis police. Yeah. In the video, Drinking Raw Water, the dangerous trend that sickened 19 people in Montana, plus more weird news. The heist where thousands of dollars in dimes was stolen from a truck from the U.S. Mint. The heist was not conducted by just one person, but by 4 people. Because throughout the story, I say the suspect instead of the suspects. So I think I was confused there a little bit. In the video Taco Tuesday for All, plus more weird news, I was talking about trademark law. And I mentioned the Societe d'exploitation de la Tour Eiffel. I pronounced it wrong as a joke. I don't know, my pronunciation that I just said was more... I knew it was more accurate. I don't know how accurate it is. There's still going to be French people mad at me, probably. This is, you know what? I'll just insert how to say it properly.
Société d'exploitation de la Tour Eiffel.
Also, while it is true that ping pong is trademarked while table tennis is a generic term, there are more than just this difference between the two terms. Table tennis, for example, is the name for the Olympic sport. Table tennis is generally portrayed as the more competitive, while ping pong might be described as more of a hobby. Also, the paddles in table tennis are designed to allow for spinning of the ball, while ping pong paddles are more sandpaper-like, which don't allow for the ball to be spun as much. And the list goes on. I don't want to list off all the differences. In Dragon Fruit Review with Mom, we do know where the dragon fruit is native to: southern Mexico and along the Pacific coasts of Guatemala, Costa Rica, and El Salvador. I also said in the video that native populations of dragon fruit plant grow in low tropical deciduous forest, riparian vegetation, thorn scrub, and thorn forest. This is inaccurate. These environments describe where there are naturalized populations of dragon fruit plant, but not native populations. I say in the video that thorn scrub has very little participation. What I meant to say is precipitation. Also, it is in fact possible to dehydrate watermelon. We said that as a joke, like what would happen if you dehydrated watermelon? There would be nothing left, but that is not true. People do dehydrate watermelon, and there is stuff that is left. In the video, the whales are taking over, plus more weird news. In addition to the Black Sea and the Baltic Sea, orcas are also not seen in the very far north of the Arctic Ocean, probably because of the ice. They're found basically everywhere else. It's crazy. Also, the shipment of the Nazi cocaine, don't ask, was headed to Belgium, not the Netherlands. Also, the video cut off weird. I was in the middle of talking about the pasta story when it just ends. I was so upset when I was watching it. I was talking about how mysterious piles of pasta had just appeared in the woods, and then there was like a guy that had just been dumping it. But it just cuts off in the middle of me talking about the story. It was so sad. In the video, leap years don't happen every 4 years. A tropical year is not the time it takes for the Earth to go around the sun once. It's actually the time it takes to go from one vernal equinox to the next, which is slightly different from a sidereal year, which is the time that it takes the Earth to orbit the sun once. A sidereal year is actually about 20 minutes, 24.5 seconds, than the mean tropical year. And that brings us to the next mistake. I said that a tropical year lasts about 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds. This is true on average, but it can actually vary by 30 minutes. For example, the time between the vernal equinox in 2022 and the vernal equinox in 2023 was 365 days, 5 hours, 50 minutes, and 55 seconds. In the video, this Titanic tourist submarine disappeared, plus more weird news. The difference between a submarine and a submersible was inaccurately described in the video. The difference is not that a submarine can navigate on the surface while a submersible cannot. The difference is that while a submarine can leave port and come back to port under its own power, a submersible must rely on a support vessel for both launch and recovery. Also, the boat that was involved in the 2023 Messenia Migrant Boat disaster was set for Italy, not Greece, although it was off the coast of Greece, so maybe that's where I got confused. The boat also did not only include refugees from Pakistan, but also from Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. In the video, How a Janitor Destroyed 20 Years of Research, plus more weird news, I did an update on the Titan Submersible. And I said, quote, tickets for the Titan Submersible were $250,000. The problem is that OceanGate didn't sell tickets per se. People who wanted to go on the Titan Submersible made donations to OceanGate and then were allowed to ride the Titan as a mission specialist, not as a passenger. And this was to avoid legal repercussions if people died on the Titan. I guess it's illegal to transport passengers in a unclassed experimented submersible, but it's not illegal to transport crew members. So they had this like weird workaround. In the video, the first drug-friendly sports competition, plus more weird news, Joey Chestnut, the competitive eater, did not consume 16,740 calories in his competitive hot dog eating contest. An original Coney Island natural casing beef frank with a nascent restaurant-style bun is 300 calories. So each hot dog and bun wasn't 270 calories like I had assumed in the video, because I just looked up the calories in a generic hot dog. The calories that Joey Chestnut ate when he ate 62 hot dogs in 10 minutes this past 4th of July was actually equivalent to 18,600 calories. I also said I was talking about a roller coaster whose support beam had been severed from the track of the ride. Related to this video, I said a gigacoaster is essentially a very large roller coaster. This is slightly inaccurate. A more accurate definition would be that a gigacoaster is a roller coaster that is 300 to 399 feet tall that completes a full circuit. This is important because a roller coaster between 400 and 499 feet tall, aka a very large roller coaster, is not a gigacoaster, but a stratocoaster. So this distinction is important. In the video, How to Become President Without Being Elected. Before being vice president, Gerald Ford was the minority leader of the House of Representatives, not the Senate. Section 4 of the 25th Amendment does not necessarily need to be invoked by the president's cabinet, but can be invoked by, quote, such other body as Congress may by law provide. So Congress could pass a law designating some other group as having the ability to invoke Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. That's the section of the Constitution that allows the cabinet of the president to declare that the president is unfit for office if the president is unable or unwilling to do so himself. In the video, How to Commit Fraud by Recycling, plus more weird news, I was talking about the really high heat that happened this past summer. I said Phoenix had temperatures of over 110 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 days in a row. It was actually 31 days in a row. 53 days in total for 2023, but it was 31 days in a row that had temperatures of over 110 degrees. Why does anybody even live in Phoenix? That sounds awful. In the video, being attacked by a snake and a hawk at the same time, plus more weird news, I was talking about the sharks that are doing cocaine, and I implied that the movie Cocaine Shark was an educational documentary, which it absolutely is not. Which is quite embarrassing.
I think I saw something in the water. I think it was a shark.
In the video, aliens are real and from Mexico, plus more weird news. The surfboard stealing otter was not necessarily tearing chunks off of surfboards with its teeth, but merely leaving bite marks in surfboards. In the video, why is 13 an unlucky number? Some people consider 13 to be a lucky number. I was just saying throughout the whole video that 13 is an unlucky number, but some people consider 13 to be a lucky number. In the video, I don't understand coffee. A cappuccino is a shot of espresso with equal parts milk foam and steamed milk. That's what I said in the video, but it's not true. And a cappuccino is actually equal parts espresso, steamed milk, and milk foam. So I messed that up because I said that it was a shot of espresso, but it's actually equal parts of all three elements. In the video, FDR versus Tradition, the battle over Thanksgiving, Lincoln did not codify the last Thursday of November as the date of Thanksgiving, but instead issued a proclamation designating the last Thursday of November as the date of Thanksgiving. There was a YouTube short that I had released this year that I originally titled 7 Human Years is Not 1 Dog Year. What I meant to say was that 1 human year is not 7 dog years. I mean, the original title was technically correct. 7 human years is not 1 dog year. But that's not like the common stereotype. Like the common stereotype is that 7 dog years is 1 human year. Finally, in the video, every mistake I made in 2023, despite the title of this video, I almost certainly missed some mistakes, making the title of this video a mistake in of itself. All right. Well, there you go. Those were some of the mistakes I made this past year in the videos that I made. Well, anyways, we made it, guys. We made it through another year. 2023 can cross it off the books. I mean, it wasn't that bad, right? Well, here's hoping that 2024 will also not suck. It probably will, though.